Spotlight on adventure! And here we see Random Bystander here, a random bystander who is here, ready to play some Mario Maker 2. Little did our hero know that he would not play Mario Maker 2 this week, but instead would play Up the video game on the Wii.
What?
Yep, you read the title right. There is a video game based on the motion picture Up. And we're gonna see what's up about it. Up is one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. Everything about the movie is amazing, from the story, the characters, the jokes, music, and it has touched the hearts of all those who watch it. I can talk about Up and Pixar movies for hours. In fact, I am part of a podcast with my two good friends, Kirby Fan and Wash, where we talk in detail about our favorite Pixar movies. And our recent episode was about, you guessed it, Up. But while talking about the movie in this episode, something in particular was mentioned. Something that intrigued me heavily.
Are you gonna try to 100% up the video game now?
Yes. Yes.
Can you believe that's an actual video game?
Is it?
It is.
There's an Up video game? Are you serious?
I found out about it yesterday. There is.
They were indeed serious, as there was indeed a Wii game based on the motion picture. With the powers of eBay, I was able to obtain it in its full glory. It's a movie tie-in game, but one thing that intrigues me was that it was developed by Heavy Iron Studios, the same people who made Battle for Bikini Bottom. They've made good games before, maybe this game could be decent, right? Right? We see the opening sequence, and honestly, it looks really charming. You see the house floating above the skies in an almost cartoony style, almost like it was an actual trailer for the movie. Music from the movie plays too, composed by Michael Giacchino, and you hear the classic Ellie's theme. Maybe this won't be so bad after all. Alright, let's start the game. Why did I hear the sound of an airport terminal? The white zone is for flying houses only. I wonder how this game's going to start out. Maybe we'll start with a level of young Carl with Ellie. Or maybe Carl setting up balloons around his house for the beginning of the game. Dogfighting controls?
I'll get the house to Paradise Falls.
And all fighters, and take down that house! Cover us, Doug!
I will help my master. He will like the way I fly, and he will love me.
I have some questions. I have all the questions. First off, why are we starting the game during the climax of the movie? You could have started at any one of the locations or events in the movie I mentioned before. Even more than that, actually. And yet, they decide to use the huge climax with Carl and Russell escaping from months as the starting point. Why? What's left of the game? Imagine if the movie started like this, and it just showed dogs shooting down Carl with his flying house trying to escape from months for dear life, and then transitions to the married life montage. Would put a damper on that tearjerker, wouldn't it? Second, this level in general. In this level, you play as Doug of all people, controlling a biplane. Don't question it, the dogs do it in the movie too. And you shoot down enemy planes. And unlike the movie where they land safely on the ground with parachutes, they explode to their deaths. Third, I am not a fan of the controls of this level. You use the nunchuck to steer while you fire with the B button of the Wiimote in order to shoot things. It's a little finicky controlling it, and oftentimes I either miss the planes entirely because I have a hard time seeing where I'm going, or planes crash into me and I instantly die. Once you get a game over, you have to redo the level again. Not so bad, but the cutscenes are unskippable. No matter what you do, you have to watch the cutscene. The game came out in 2009. Skippable cutscenes were a thing by then. And fourth, and finally, look at Carl Fredricksen in this game. What did they do to you, Carl? He looks absolutely disgusting, as everything just looks so rendered down and ugly. I hate it. At least Russell looks recognizable a bit, but even then he looks like a mess of pixels. This game came out in 2009, as I mentioned earlier, but you know what came out 2 years earlier before that? Mario Galaxy. If Mario Galaxy can look this good 2 years earlier, what's your excuse? Up! Getting back to the plane level, you know what the funniest thing about the plane level is? There's only 2 segments of the biplane as Doug. One in the beginning, and one at the end. What? Why make something your first level if it's not going to reflect the rest of the game? It doesn't make sense to me.
Spotlight on adventure!
Once we finish the level, thank God, we are treated to the newsreel sections of the game. They explain events that happen in the movie in between levels. In the most watered-down way possible. Yes, it's cool that they did the newsreel thing because it's in the beginning of the movie, but imagine if they had that narrate the entire film. It just feels rushed, especially since they use the beautiful, sarcasm, in-game models that totally don't make your eyes bleed. Like, they honestly just rushed the idea of Ellie's death in this one, a main conflict of the movie, like it was nothing. It's kind of distasteful almost. Although I suppose it could have been worse.
And here we see Carl comforting his wife Ellie as she is sick in her hospital bed. But what's this? Ellie has passed on! Oh no, Jiminy Crickets! Will our hero Carl learn to cheer up and get over the grief of his wife's death? Stay tuned. I feel bad for making that joke.
And finally we get to the real gameplay where we can play as Carl and Russell. And honestly, it's not too bad. You can use the Wiimote and Nunchuck to control each character. You can switch each character to accomplish certain challenges with their unique powers, and you can even use motion controls to perform certain actions. Carl can do things like climb onto ledges with his cane, use his hearing aid to stun enemies, and create balloon animals to distract foes. Russell assists the elderly by using a rope to help get Carl to higher places he can't reach, cutting things down, and stunning enemies with trumpet playing. They have to work together constantly in order to get through Paradise Falls. And that's one plus I'll give the game. The dungeons are a bit simple, but each character has a specific purpose, and the gameplay uses each character to their full potential. Also, you can hit each other, and that's pretty funny to see Carl just wail on Russell with his cane. This is why you're being sent to Shady Oaks, Carl. The motion controls are pretty responsive too, and the fact that they are not used for a majority of the game is a huge plus. They still make you look like an idiot waving them around though. Regardless, the gameplay can be fun and creative if you are playing with a friend. But if you are playing single player like me, good luck, cause the AI is some of the worst I've ever seen in a video game. Yes, the AI is hot garbage, and there are often times characters will blindly follow you even if it means they fall to certain death. Or if they decide not to follow you and they get killed as well. This wouldn't be too bad if it didn't affect your health, but not only can it take a whole health point, but can also kill you even if you aren't the one taking damage. Sure, there are no lives and they are generous with checkpoints, but it is still annoying that you can die so easily despite it not being your fault. Well, let's switch to another positive. The voice acting's pretty good. They brought the original voice actors, including Ed Asner, Bob Peterson, Jordan Nagai, and even Christopher Plummer as Muntz. The voice actors stay true to their characters, and they are believable with every word of their performance. Too bad they won't shut up. There were times where they would repeat the same thing over and over again, and it would get on my nerves constantly. I love these characters to death in the movie, but with the amount of times I've heard Carl say,
Gotta catch my breath. Gotta catch my breath.
And the amount of times I've heard Russell grunt, I just wanted to smack them both in the face. And thankfully I could. So we explore Paradise Falls some more, and oh god, Doug, what have they done to you? He looks horrifying, and I don't like the way his eyes move. It just really bothers me personally. And also, he's a playable character, as if we didn't have enough bad AI to deal with. Doug still has his usefulness though, as he can crouch and crawl into small holes, pull switches, and even smell items that can be dug up. The only thing about Doug is that he's not with you throughout most of the adventure. Heck, he's not with you throughout most of the levels he's in. He pops up randomly to do his thing, then evaporates into nothing. Speaking of dogs, you can run into dogs as enemies, but in order to defeat them, you have to wait for them to charge at you, hit B at the right time, and then they bounce and hurt themselves, and you do that for about 2 to 3 times with each enemy. It is long and tedious to say the least. Sure, you can use your powers to speed up the process, but the powers in general are just super scarce. So honestly, you have an easier time just using the bullfighting method. And sometimes, even when you hit B, it doesn't work and you take damage. Or it does work and you take damage despite charging at the right time. So it's honestly a gamble either way, so make sure you're fully healed. Once you stun the dogs, you are able to deal with them in one of 2 different ways, depending on which character you pick to fight them. If you choose Russell, he simply throws a ball to distract them, which is accurate to the movie at least, although it is often funny how many times the ball is shown on screen and the dog just Thanos snaps out of existence. While Carl, on the other hand, ties the dog to balloons where they can't get out and float all the way to an unknown height only to presumably fall to their death. That's a bit dark, Mr. Fredrickson.
Carl, that kills people!
Spotlight on adventure!
These news things are really starting to get on my nerves. All it is really are those gameplay models with a black and white filter. It's starting to get annoying, and oh my god, Charles Muntz, what have they done to you? I know what they did to you. They did terrible things to you. It seems all that time in Paradise Falls has transformed Charles Muntz into Andros from Starfox. Monkey Muntz gets mad at us in the span of 5 seconds, and we have to hide from him. More platforming, more sound of Carl and Russell. and more squishing of bugs from Carl's cane.
Splish!
I will say, while they were pretty accurate with things in the movie, there are a lot of liberties that were taken. Like, remember the monkeys from Up that Carl learned how to move rocks with? Remember that from the movie? Or how about when Carl and Russell fell into the river and slid all the way down a hole? Remember that incredible scene? Or how about the time when Carl and Russell faced a giant python and Carl had to distract it with balloon animals in order to shock it with electric eels? It makes me cry every time. These bosses, if you can call them that, are honestly garbage as well. Especially this crocodile boss with demon eyes. There were so many times where I would try to control one character and the other would just blindly follow, which led to their death relatively quickly. All I have to do is use Russell as bait, knock down the crocodile, and then hit a stalagmite with rock in order to do damage to said crocodile. Just what the movie was missing. Did I just die in the cutscene? Yeah, that can happen in this game, along with a lot of different types of glitches, such as characters getting stuck, shaking uncontrollably, and just randomly disappearing. I swear Carl just disappeared from existence right here when he should have been eaten by the plant, and I was stuck. Yet once we both got eaten, we both came out. Nothing was game breaking, but it was still plain to see that this game was rushed beyond a doubt.
Spotlight on adventure!
I'm getting sick of you! The bird gets taken by months, and after a level of climbing up the falls, we fly onto the Spirit of Adventure. Oh good, a level that isn't jungle and rainforest. Oh good, a bunch more puzzles, only with Carl and Doug now. We do that, rescue Russell, do more bullfighting with dogs, tie balloons to pups inside a blimp, and make our way to Charles Oh sweet Paradise Falls! Why? He looks worse than he does in the cutscenes! I'm surprised he didn't terrify any kids who play this game.
Pity it has to end this way, Carl. But you've left me no choice.
Spotlight on adventure!
Be quiet! The last level is, of course, the biplane level. Did you forget about that? I don't blame you. Only thing is, this is 10 times longer, where you have to face 3 different waves of biplanes, and then you bring down the Spirit of Adventure. Remember that part of the I don't care anymore. We blow up the blimp, Muntz quietly announces his hatred for balloons, and falls. And I never have to play this game again. That was awful. This game took me roughly 4 hours to complete, and honestly, I wish I got those 4 hours back and played some Mario Maker 2. The game does have great things going for it. It does have talented voice actors behind it, it knows its characters well, and the gameplay can be interesting, especially with 2 people, but the game looks terrifying, the AI is broken, the bugs are all over the place, and it honestly ruined my experience with this game. Even though it was a movie tie-in game, I had high hopes for the creators of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but in the end, to say it was disappointing was an understatement. In short, I never want to have to play this game ever again, and compared to the movie, this game is certainly not up to par. Oh my goodness, we made the exact right amount of up jokes. I say that calls for a special reward. I say we have one great delicious drink of 7-Up. Dang it!
Random bystander here. Oh, say it again. Random bystander here. He's random and he's here to be a bystander who entertains you.
It's not even 7-Up, it's ginger ale!